in terms of, let's break down the mental part and the spiritual part. Okay, in terms of the spiritual part of fitness, being spiritually fit is doing basically one of the things that you're doing right here on the Saturday. Coming here, discussing things of the Word, growing spiritually, growing the spirit man. Alright? Knowing to have that component with you within your life, because that's going to play a very important part in every element of your life, and then of course, your afterlife. Alright? The mental part of fitness is learning. You're doing learning in school now, you're learning about different subjects, whether it be history, biology, math, whatever it is you're learning. So becoming mentally fit, keeping mentally alert, training the mind to be focused, because even that plays a part in athletics. And then from the physical part of it, of course, being fit in terms of your diet, how do you eat, when do you eat, how do you exercise, what do you play, how long you play for, and several other elements, okay? So in terms of the fitness part at your age, here, it's so important for you to be fit now in your lifestyle. Why? Because as you age, of course, there's certain changes in your body that's going to happen, and you're going to begin to be susceptible to different aches and pains and maybe illnesses, but all these things can be avoided if you eat right, if you exercise frequently, if you sleep regularly, regular sleeping patterns. All of those play a part in you being totally fit. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with an acronym, FITT. That's what you want to remember, FITT. When it comes to being physically fit, the F stands for frequency. How many times do you exercise a week? You should be doing some type of physical activity at least 3 to 4 times a week for at least an hour. Some type of physical activity. So that's the frequency in the F. Alright? The I speaks to intensity. Now some of you going to school, or some of you playing PE. Some persons, if the coach say, okay, y'all take 2 laps to warm up, you'll find 1 or 2 persons, they break off and they're running really around the track. And then some people just jogging or brisk walking and stuff like that. That's the difference. Whatever you're doing, are you doing it with some type of intensity? Because that's what makes the difference in terms of how you improve your cardiovascular endurance. How fast you're doing it, how much passion you're putting into it. You're not just walking along, you see people walking early in the morning, so you're just walking along and you're trying to figure out, okay, how many calories they burning? Now, it's good from a fact if you want to get out there and exercise and have morning walks and stuff to clear your mind and to do your devotions. That's all well and good. But if you're actually going to if you want some physical goal to be met, then you have to get out there and hit it out. Okay? So that's the intensity part of it. The first T, because there's 2 T's in this word fit, the first T would be the time. How long do you exercise for? You can't go and run and jog for 2 minutes and say, okay, that's it for the day. Like I said, it has to be at least 30 to 45 minutes of exercise when you do some type of exercise or play some type of game where you're actually using your physical body. Alright, so T is how long you do it. And the other T in the fit is the type. What do you do? Are you playing softball? Are you swimming? Are you running? Whatever game you want to play. That's the type of exercise that makes a difference. Now, what's the important thing is that you find something you do that you enjoy. The reason why a lot of kids don't exercise much is some kids just don't enjoy physical activity. They're not sports minded and, they're not into basketball or track or anything like that. But however, even that element, when it's not like that, it's still very important for you to take part in some type of physical activity. So if you don't want to do something competitively, do it for fun. Find something that you enjoy with your other friends around the school or in your neighborhood or wherever it is in your church, and do something for fun. Because you have to continuously keep your body fit as you age. It's very, very important. Okay? The key thing with the whole fitness trilogy, however, is balance. Okay? You find a lot of kids, a lot of adults, people of the whole, they don't maintain balance because there's always one area of that tri-being, the body, the soul, or the mind, that's lacking. Remember triangle in math, the triangle? The key about a triangle is what? It has 3
sides.
that are,
Go speak up.
that's right,
That's great.
equal sides, equal angles. It's all about equilibrium. So you have to find that balance. So you may find someone who, like I say, doesn't particularly like sports, but is very, very mentally focused. So every time you see them reading one book or something like that, that's all well and good. But then you also have to consider the other two elements of that triangle, the spiritual and the mental. So if you're edgically inclined and you like to read, well, read about some of the things you can do to increase your physical ability. Use that strength to bring up the weakness. Use that strength of the reading or your cognitive abilities to get into the Word, asking God for some more understanding. That's where the mental part comes into it. If you get in the place where as you're doing sports, every time you're looking around you to sports, you don't do your homework yet, you're out there playing on the basketball court. No balance. It has to be balanced. Okay, so the same effort you put into sports, you need to now put into coming in to do your homework. Studying. Because that is one of the things that's going to carry you through life in terms of how well you do from a knowledge perspective. Okay? And then, of course, the spiritual part of it. I say persons of faith should be the healthiest people on earth. Why? Because as we put into the laws, as we practice following spiritual laws, so we should practice the laws that govern us here on earth. In terms of our physical aspect, how we eat, when we eat, how much we eat. All these things are very important. How we take care. We say, this is the temple. Correct? This is the temple. This is the only body we have. So my question is your temple fit working?
Wow.
Is it? You know, you hear the story, yeah. You know, and it's not always, like Jill made the analogy, it's not always how slim you are, how muscular you are. It's not always that. Fitness transcends that, because sometimes you may find somebody, well, who knows what BMI is? Anybody knows what BMI is? It's body mass index. What it is it's a chart, it's a equivalent chart that we use inside the health profession to show exactly how well dispositioned you are based on your height and your weight. So there's a formula that we use on a table, and based on how tall you are, and based on how much you weigh, and decide your body type, right? You should fit into a certain column and number. So you'll either be normal, under normal, at risk, or obese. And you'll fall in some in that category. Right? So based on that, that's a scale that we use. But from a regular layman's standpoint, fitness is not just the look or not just the scale. Because you may find someone who is bigger than I am, who could run that flight of stairs 5 times quicker than I can. So you look at them and say, well, obviously, like the gentleman in the back there, I may be more muscular than he is, but he may be able to lift something more than I can. Because there's muscular strength and there's muscular endurance. So I could say, I could come in, I could lift this chair. I say, oh, I can lift this, I can lift this, I can lift this, this area, I can lift this, right? So I lift it once or twice, but he could probably come over here, lift the chair that's smaller than this, but lift that about 20 times. I can't lift that 20 times, but I can lift that twice. How can we say who's stronger? Theoretically, he's in better shape than I am. So you have to look at in perspective of the whole concept of fitness. Okay? At this age too, I want to be very clear in terms of your fitness ability, not only in terms of being fit as in excelling in a sport, but for healthy reasons. Healthy reasons. At this point, your metabolism is very fast right now. You're going through adolescence and puberty and all these different young phases. Still, be cautious of what you eat. Balance. You can have your McDonald's and you can have your treats and your chocolate, whatever have you. But my whole thing is that, you have to be balanced in how you do that. You can't have those foods all week, all the time, overeating. You know, and a lot of kids don't realize what it is to overeat. When you overeat, how do you know when to stop eating?
I knew about to fall on.
Wow.
I know, right? But let me tell you something. When you eat any meal, the mere fact that you feel that sensation of feeling full, when you start to feel full, you've already overeaten. You've already eaten too much. That whole sensation of, oh, I'm getting full now, is the body saying, stop, 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 I have had enough. And we have to realize that, because when you eat your meals, basically you just should be eating enough to get to the next meal. Not enough to stop until tomorrow. Say, this is my last meal for the day so I can make sure I finish this whole plate of food. You know what I mean? So practice principles like that, knowing how much food you need, knowing how much calories you need based on your activity level. Because you start off into doing it now, you put yourself at risk for high cholesterol, diabetes, hypertension, you know what I mean? Arthritis, all these different things that people don't realize at a younger age. They don't appreciate the fact that what I do now is going to affect me later. Okay, so remember, the seeds you sow now and the investment you put in your body is what's going to get you through the longevity of living like a healthy life. And then always remember, within your fitness program, to always put God first.
Amen.
Put Him first in everything you do. You know, we idolize all these people on the TV, and whether they be singers or sports persons and so forth and so on. You know, and they go on their merry way. They're in the Grammys and you're idolizing the big chains and the cars and the mansions and stuff like that. But as soon as something happens, who you see them crying on? Who they calling on?
Jesus.
God. They calling on God, and then sometimes if they get delivered or they get rescued or they get healed, they put a testimony out and put one gospel song out, and the next thing you know, they back on track, heading in another direction.
Sure.
Until God have to say, remember me? God has a way of getting your attention in some way, shape, or form. Remember that. But if you continue to put Him first in everything you do, you'll be there for you. The other day, who knows about that, the football player the other day that died on the field? Remember that, the heart attack?
Yeah.
Right? Nobody basically knew about this guy. Why shouldn't they know about him? Football fans would really know about him. But the general public didn't know much about him until that whole incident happened. And then he's, like I say, came right to the limelight when he miraculously was healed. And then he started speaking about how important God is in his life and who he gave thanks to. And sometimes God allows things like that to happen to your life to get you to recognize Him and how important He is. And to get you to be a testimony, to get you to be the one your friends look at and say, boy, listen, she could have tracked now, but you know what I mean? But whenever she win that medal, the first thing she said, I give thanks to God. Whatever skill or ability you have, He can enhance it, or He can simply just take it away. It just shows how appreciative you are on what you put into knowing at the end of the day that who gets the glory? God gets the glory at the end of the day. Alright? Yes. So, that is kind of in a nutshell how I want you to think and develop as you get older. Remember, the importance of fitness is optimizing your body's potential, increasing your spiritual awareness, maximizing mental ability and stamina to enhance your total being, everything, all the assets of you, all the aspects of your being. Becoming that mature. So as you mature physically, chronologically in age, you mature spiritually and you mature mentally and become a whole person. Not just a track star, not just a A student, not just someone who's in church all the time. I say for a lot of church people and believers, you know what I mean, sometimes it's not being healthy. I mean, every time you look, you're at the altar praying for this and you're asking for some deliverance, some healing and stuff like that. But God has given you the ability to alleviate a lot of these things. You're praying for things that you should have corrected years ago. You know what I mean? So at this age, that's how you must think. Just as much fervency as I put into everything that I do, balance is the key. And if you put God first in everything you do, you will be successful. Remember, in the physical, I played 13 different sports. I've been on 6 different national teams. I've been there and done that. But at the end of the day, if I didn't have God in my life, many times I would have failed. Yeah, I would have failed because He's the one that brought me through a lot of things. When you didn't win that race, or when you're on the relay team and the person you waiting on the baton and the dude around there drop and you like, Jesus, baby. And you stand there waiting around the baton on the ground.
Yeah.
But you have to get such in a mindset to say, God, that wasn't for us, but next time. It had to be a reason that happened. And that the reason why something like that may happen, you may not even understand at that time. That might have been a lesson for you to practice and to learn self-control and even forgiveness. You don't go around there and tell a guy apart if we drop the baton. Or it could be a lesson, a technical lesson for the team to learn that, listen, something must have happened. What did we do wrong? And how can we correct it? So it's not always about being the best in the field. It's about being the best you could be. Alright? In terms of image, and I want to stress this, and especially with the young ladies, image at this age, like I say again, is a very important thing. To a lot of young ladies, you got to look like this, and you got to be like that, and your hair got to be fixed, and you got to have this thing and the next thing to be accepted. Remember, you are beautiful in your own right. You're beautiful in your own right. It's not about looking like someone else. There's no one set image for any female or for any male. It's all about being the best that you can be and finding what's beautiful about you, enhancing that and glorifying God in that.
Amen.
Everybody's like a piece of art. Everybody has a favorite ice cream, has a favorite color. Doesn't mean that chocolate tastes better than vanilla. Maybe it is to you, but vanilla tastes better than. Who's to say? So when it comes to art, if you consider yourself a masterpiece, created in whose image? God's image. No one can say you're not beautiful because you're a reflection of who? God. Nothing God created is ugly or misformed. It always has a purpose and a reason for being the way it is. So remember that as you grow, as you think about your image, when you look in the mirror, don't just look in the mirror all the time and say, oh, I overweight, or I need the next best weave, or I gotta do this, or whatever it is that. It's not all about that.
That's right.
Because you know what? At the end of the day, beauty comes from within.
Amen. That's right. That's it.
And instead, you could have the most gorgeous girl sitting here who has the worst attitude.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could have the strongest, coolest dude out there with the best looking car, but that's the one who would top you up when you get home. You know what I mean? So it's not all about the image here. It's the person inside that you have to develop. And that person inside, as that person develops as you grow, and you maintain that, don't fall to the pressures of the person saying, oh, you got to be like this, and you got to look like this to get this and to do that. Because in your time will come. And who God wants you to meet, and who God wants you to become, and the change that you will make in this world will come when time meets your purpose. Because it's important for you to be in position.
That's right.
Be in position all the time. Stay purpose. You know what your passion is. So she wants to be a nurse. All of a sudden now you wanted to be executive secretary. You want to be a CEO of a company. But because you see she look like she can start making more money as a nurse now, and someone called her to go to Miami now to go work, all of a sudden you want to change your purpose to go be a nurse.
Right.
When you know, I'm just saying, when you know it in your heart, you know what? God say, I could sow, man. And I know my neighbors, I started sewing little things for my neighbors and stuff. They like it. Maybe I could open more shop. Next thing you know, you could have your whole design and label and stuff like that. But you could have bought that looking at her being a nurse.
Yes. That's right.
So think about that too. As you get older and as you go through this journey, think about what that passion is. What you're really passionate about. God placed that within you for a reason. He gave you the dreams and the vision to bring that into fruition and make that happen. And all a part of that can't happen if you don't remain healthy. You can have as many dreams as you can, but you can't execute them on the sick bed and in the hospital and bedridden and can't walk and all these different things. Stuck on medications. Okay? So take the time out, think about what I've said, and give you the opportunity to ask different questions right now. Okay? Go ahead.
I just want to make this observation because you talked about persons and their image and being satisfied with their image. When we mention the word stress, Could you talk about stress in terms of how it plays on the body and the mind, the spirit?
Yeah.
Stress is one of the greatest.
Correct. But I mean, we stress affects us in many different ways. You could be mentally stressed because of your job, or emotional stress because things are going on in the home and the family and stuff like that. You could be physically stressed when you're not, like these two on right now. Physically stressed when you're not getting enough rest at the right time. Okay. So that part of actually when you yawn, and that's the body's releasing. Okay. So that it could be a physical stress, or where you exercise so much, you work so hard that the body is always fatigued and tired. You know what I mean? And then you can also be spiritually stressed out. You praying for things and you think God doing anything. You say, cast my cares upon you, and cast this. How much times I get to care? How much times I get to leave this to the altar? I leave this to the altar and I come back and it's still there. You be spiritually stressed out sometimes. You're trying to hear from God. You know what I'm saying? That's where that balance comes into it. Going back to the word, and stress would affect you in terms of poor eating habits. People have stress foods. Everybody gets stressed out. Oh, I gotta go to Dairy Queen. As soon as I leave work, you know what I'm saying? I stress out, I gotta do this. Oh, I stress out, I gotta go for a drink. Oh, I stress out, I gotta. You know what I mean? They find options to try to relieve stress, but all these options are, which are mostly dietary, eating or drinking something to try to relieve the stress. It becomes habitual, and they don't relieve it. My whole thing is that you're gonna find the underlying factors that are influencing the stress. What's causing it? And then address it. You know what I mean? So sometimes even with you at your age, you be stressed out in school because this teacher just seems to be always picking on you, or you always seem to be a topic of a conversation or something like that. And you have to address it. Find ways to address it. You have to find someone you trust, find someone you could confide in, and bring it to a head, because leaving things that are not addressed properly fester like a wound. That'll eat and eat and eat at you, and then you find out you're not sleeping right, you're eating poor, you're arguing and snapping at your friends for no reason. All of a sudden you and your parents can't see eye to eye because you're not addressing something. So even at your age, address things, but address them respectfully, especially when speaking to other adults. And even with your peers, the respect you get or respect that you give. Okay? Yes, sir.
Where do you start dying first from?
I'm sorry?
Where do we start dying first from? I was told we start dying first from our foot coming up.
Oh, from a physical perspective?
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. The body deteriorating in some way, shape, or form can happen in any area of the body. It basically just depends on the ailment or what's triggering the fact of the deterioration. So it's not as far as I know, it isn't a one place that you start dying. Now they may have made that analogy based on the mere fact that the feet are one of the places in the body that has most of the nerve endings that begin there and run straight up through the body.
Oh,
So
you said that, sir.
yes, so you may find that in a lot of Middle Eastern religions and therapies and stuff, as soon as you go to the Chinese doctors, the first thing you see, put your foot up. And they go into those toes and underneath the feet, and they feeling around, stuff like that, because there are nerve endings and different things in the foot itself that affects the entire body. Okay, so, and it's a good observation too, because that's another thing. People don't realize that, and we don't look at, when we talk about underlying issues, you may find yourself having back problems all the time, and leg problems, and you're trying to figure out what's causing it. Check your shoes. Are you wearing the right shoes? Are they the right size? Are they too tight? You know what I'm saying? Are they the type of shoes that that suit your feet? Some people have high arches in their feet, and they wearing flat shoes that the foot is continuously pressing down, trying to fill that gap. Guys, when y'all playing basketball and stuff, can't play in flip-flops. You're not giving your feet enough support. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? If you run in track or something, you can't run track in high-top tennis. Right? You're not allowing the flexibility for the Achilles and the ankles. So all those stuff you have to think about in terms of fitness, being dressed appropriately and being prepared for whatever activity you're taking part in. Okay. Anything else?
No questions, young people?
May I ask one question?
Yeah.
Because I'm getting older, I noticed that a lot of persons are replacing their hip. They're having hip replacements. What do you think causes that? Because I know, like you were mentioning, shoes and making sure you have the right shoes. Is that a cause?
Well, not so much for the hip itself, especially when it comes to women. You may find more hip replacements in women than you find in men, basically because of the osteoporosis and the calcium deficiency for a lot of women, especially, and that goes back to diet, vitamins, and supplements also. So I mean, and then a lot of times women are a little more you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. Sedimentary than men
Yeah.
in terms of the activity level. So they did that, you know, going in as you age, a woman will tend to become a little more dormant before a guy would. A guy still out there washing the car, mowing the lawn, doing stuff, and where women be more domicile, just in the work and office, dealing with the kids. So slowly but surely, these joints are going to begin to not only wear down, but begin to stiffen up because you're not using them. And that is the reason why, again, functional fitness is very important. So I can walk every morning, you know, I can walk every morning and get my cardio in terms of my heart, my breathing, my respiratory system in good shape. But if I'm not doing lunges or I'm not doing squats and stuff like that, I'm not exercising the body, I'm not taking the hip and the hip joints through the range of motion. So I can't just, remember that elements of fitness, you can't just cater to one and not cater to the next one. So you may find, let's say the fastest sprinter, they could run down there as fast as possible, but their range of motion may not be what it should be. They can't get their hands behind their back, or they can't touch the ground. Except their flexibility is there, but they're fast. Which means that they'll be more prone to an injury because why? They didn't improve their flexibility. Okay, so everything ties into everything. Everything ties into, you gotta hit all elements. All elements to be the best person that you could be.
Christiana? Or Marianne?
Okay, so question. You see what you were saying about like the shoes and how it could affect your foot and stuff like that? I was having the same problem and stuff like that. Like I switch shoes for like practice and stuff like I switch shoes, but I like it died down. But like it still is hot and stuff like that. How would you know like the right shoes and stuff to wear and to like counter it and all that?
Well, I mean, it depends on why you wear it, where you wear it. Is it for sport? Okay, so what sport? Across the board?
Yeah.
Alright, I mean, my whole thing is that, first of all, you gotta look at the shape of your foot and see whatever tennis you're wearing, first of all, is fitting you properly. In terms of, like I say, once again, the instep arches of your feet. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that the heel is a type of heel. If you're doing a lot of jumping and stuff like that, you gotta make sure the type of heel is something that's absorbing the shock in the ground. So sometimes you have tennis that has a really hard heel, you know what I mean, or sole. And then you have tennis that have either the air cushioning in it or have foam cushioning and stuff like that. They have absorbed the shock, because that shock a lot of times, if that's not being absorbed, you're doing a lot of jumping or impact exercises, then of course you keep on stressing the nerves in the foot. You keep on stressing the nerves up the shins, the front of your shins, and then you start getting shin splints and stuff like that, because again, you're not wearing the right type of shoes, or the shoes may be too tight, cutting down on the circulation. If you start cutting circulation, and that goes back to what you say, trust me, if you start cutting circulation at the foot, you start to feel that slowly moving up the entire body. So again, be mindful of the type of the shoes you wear and you know how you wear them, where you wear them. Yes, ma'am.